The great hall of the Theran Imperial Palace was filled with light from 1,000 floating crystals. Noble families from across the empire had gathered to celebrate the birthday of Princess Velra. But anyone who looked closely could see that this was not a celebration of love. It was a display of cruelty dressed in silk and jewels. Princess Velra stood at the center of the hall. Her skin was pale blue, like the winter sky of her home world. Her eyes were large and silver, and they showed no emotion as she received gift after gift from the noble families. She was tall and thin, almost fragile-looking. Her white gown flowed around her like water, but it could not hide the sadness that lived in her bones. The Theran people valued one thing above all others. They valued the ability to create life. Children were seen as the greatest blessing, and those who could not have them were considered broken, cursed, worthless. Velra had been tested when she was young. The royal doctors had announced their findings to the entire court. The princess was sterile. She would never carry a child. She would never continue her family line. From that day forward, she became invisible to her own people. Her older brother, Prince Kethver, had 3 children already. He was the pride of the empire. He was strong and cruel, with dark blue skin and eyes like black holes. He enjoyed nothing more than reminding his sister of her failure. Today was no different. Kethver walked to the center of the hall with a smile on his face. The crowd parted for him like water around a stone. He carried a small device in his hand, a controller of some kind. "Dear sister," he said loudly, so everyone could hear, "I have brought you a very special gift this year." Velra looked at him with empty eyes. She had learned long ago not to show her brother any emotion. He fed on her pain like a beast feeds on meat. "I know how lonely you must be," Kethver continued, "living in that empty wing of the palace. No children to care for. No May who wants you. So I thought I would give you something to keep you company." He pressed a button on the controller. A door at the side of the hall opened, and 2 guards walked in. Between them was a small figure. A human dot. The crowd gasped and then laughed. Humans were known throughout the galaxy as one of the weakest species. They were small. They were soft. They had no natural weapons, no special abilities. They lived short lives and died easily. Many empires kept them as servants or pets. They were considered barely intelligent. The human was a young female. She had dark hair that fell past her shoulders and brown eyes that were wide with fear. She wore simple gray clothes that marked her as property. Her hands were bound in front of her, and she stumbled as the guards pushed her forward. Kethver grabbed the human by the arm and pulled her toward Velra. "Her name is Yuna," he said. "She was captured from a human colony ship 6 months ago. I bought her from a trader for almost nothing. She is worthless, of course. Just like you, sister." The crowd laughed again. Some of the nobles pointed at the human and whispered to each other. What a perfect joke. A worthless gift for a worthless princess. Velra looked at the human called Yuna. The small creature was shaking. Her eyes moved around the hall, looking at all the tall, blue-skinned aliens who were laughing at her. Tears ran down her face, but she did not make a sound. Something moved in Velra's chest. Something she had not felt in a very long time. She did not know what it was. "I accept your gift, brother," she said quietly. Her voice was calm and cold. Kethver looked disappointed. He had wanted her to cry. He had wanted her to show weakness in front of everyone. But Velra had learned to hide her heart many years ago. "Take good care of her," Kethver said with a cruel smile. "Though I doubt she will survive long. Humans are so fragile." The celebration continued, but Velra no longer paid attention. She stood silently while more gifts were presented. When the night finally ended, she walked back to her wing of the palace. The human followed behind her, led by a guard. Velra's wing was far from the main palace. It was a beautiful place, but empty. No servants wanted to work for the sterile princess. No nobles wanted to visit her. She lived alone with only a few guards and cleaning machines. When they reached her rooms, Velra dismissed the guard. She turned to look at the human, who stood near the door with her head down. "You may sit," Velra said. Yuna looked up with surprise. She did not move at first. Then, slowly, she walked to a small chair and sat down. Her hands were still bound. Velra walked to her and, without a word, removed the bindings. Yuna rubbed her wrists and stared at the princess with confusion. "Do you understand my language?" Velra asked. Yuna nodded. "Yes, princess. We were given translation implants when we were captured." Her voice was soft and scared. Velra noticed that she was very young, perhaps 20 cycles in human years. "My brother gave you to me as an insult," Velra said. "He believes humans are worthless. He believes I am worthless. He hoped that giving me something so beneath him would hurt me." Yuna's eyes filled with fresh tears. She looked down at the floor. "I did not say that I agree with him," Velra added. The human looked up again. There was something in her eyes now. A small spark of hope, perhaps. "What was your work before you were captured?" Velra asked. "I was a nurse, princess. On my colony ship, I helped the doctors care for the sick and injured." Velra felt something stir inside her again. A nurse, a healer. How strange that her brother had given her such a person without knowing. "You will not be treated as a slave here," Velra said. "I have no need for slaves. You will have your own room. You will eat proper food. You will be free to move around my wing as you wish. In return, I ask only that you do not try to escape. The guards outside would kill you before you reach the main gate." Yuna stared at her. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you be kind to me?" Velra turned away. She walked to the window and looked out at the night sky. 3 moons hung above the palace, casting silver light on the gardens below. "Because I know what it feels like to be seen as worthless," she said quietly. "To be laughed at. To be alone. I would not wish that feeling on any creature, not even a human." Yuna did not respond. But when Velra finally turned around, she saw that the human was crying again. This time, the tears seemed different. Softer somehow. Over the next few days, Yuna settled into her new life. She was given a small room near Velra's chambers. She was given clean clothes and good food. The cleaning machines were programmed to leave her alone. It was not freedom, but it was better than anything she had expected. She spent most of her time watching Velra. The princess followed the same routine every day. She woke early and ate a small breakfast. She read reports and documents from around the empire, though Yuna did not know why. She took walks in the private garden. She ate dinner alone. She went to sleep early. What Yuna noticed most was how tired the princess always looked. Her movements were slow. Her skin, which should have been a healthy blue, looked pale and gray. She often pressed her hand against her lower back as if she was in pain. Sometimes she would stop in the middle of walking and close her eyes, as if the world was spinning around her. Yuna recognized these signs. She had seen them many times during her work as a nurse. One evening, while Velra was reading in her study, Yuna gathered her courage and knocked on the door. "Enter," Velra said. Yuna walked in and stood nervously near the desk. "Princess, may I ask you something?" Velra put down her document. "You may. How long have you been feeling sick?" The princess's silver eyes widened slightly. "What do you mean?" "The tiredness. The pain in your back. The dizziness. The pale color of your skin. These are symptoms of something, princess. Something that has been affecting you for a long time." Velra was quiet for a moment. Then she stood up and walked to the window, her favorite place to think. "The royal doctors examined me many times when I was young," she said. They found that my body does not produce certain hormones correctly. This is why I cannot have children. They said there was no treatment. They said I would simply have to live with it. Yuna frowned. Did they try to treat the symptoms? No. Once they learned I was sterile, they lost interest in me. A princess who cannot produce heirs is not worth their time. The bitterness in her voice was clear. Yuna felt a wave of anger toward the Theran doctors. How could they abandon someone just because she could not have children? Princess, Yuna said carefully, on my world, we have similar conditions. Hormone problems are actually quite common in humans, and we have learned many ways to treat them. Velra turned to look at her. What are you saying? I am saying that maybe your doctors were wrong. Maybe there's something that can be done. Not to make you have children, she added quickly, but to make you feel better. To give you energy. To take away the pain. The princess stared at her for a long time. Her silver eyes seemed to glow in the dim light. You would help me? She asked. Even though I am your captor? Yuna shook her head. You are not my captor, princess. You are the only person in this empire who has shown me kindness. If there is anything I can do to help you, I want to try. Velra was silent. Then, slowly, she nodded. Very well, little human. Show me what your people know about healing. That night, Yuna began to study. She used Velra's computer to learn everything she could about Theran biology. It was different from human biology in many ways, but the basic principles were the same. Hormones controlled the body. When they were out of balance, the body suffered. She worked through 3 weeks passed in the quiet wing of the palace. During this time, Yuna worked harder than she had ever worked in her life. She studied Theran biology until her eyes hurt. She compared it with human biology until the differences and similarities became clear in her mind. She made notes and charts and plans. Velra watched her with growing curiosity. The human was so small, so fragile, yet she worked with a focus that the princess had never seen before. She barely slept. She barely ate. She was driven by something that Velra did not understand. Why do you work so hard? Velra asked one evening. You gain nothing from helping me. Yuna looked up from her computer screen. Dark circles had formed under her eyes, but there was a light in them that had not been there before. Because I can, she said simply. Because I was trained to help people who are sick. Because no one should suffer when there is a chance to make them better. Velra did not know how to respond. In Theran society, everything was done for personal gain. Power, status, wealth. The idea of helping someone simply because it was possible was strange to her. Is this normal for humans? She asked. Yuna smiled a little. It was the first time Velra had seen her smile. I think so, princess. Most humans believe that we should help each other when we can. We call it compassion. Compassion? The word was not in the Theran language. Velra stored it in her memory. A few days later, Yuna was finally ready. She came to Velra's chambers with a small bag in her hands. Inside were several items she had made using the palace's manufacturing machines. I have found something, Yuna said. Your royal doctors were right that your body does not produce certain hormones correctly. But they were wrong that nothing can be done. She pulled out a small device that looked like a thin patch. This is a hormone supplement. It will release a small amount of the missing hormones into your body every day. The hormones are not exactly the same as Theran hormones, but I have adjusted them to work with your biology. Velra looked at the patch with doubt in her eyes. How do you know this will work? I do not know for certain, Yuna admitted, but I have tested the compounds carefully. They should be safe. At worst, they will do nothing. At best, they will help your body function more normally. The princess was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and took the patch from Yuna's hand. "Where do I put it?" Yuna showed her how to apply the patch to her upper arm, where it would stay in place and release the hormones slowly. The process was simple. When it was done, Velra looked at the small patch on her blue skin. "How long before I feel something?" "Maybe a few days. Maybe a week. These things take time." Velra nodded slowly. "Thank you, Yuna." The human bowed her head. "I hope it helps, Princess." The first changes came slowly. So slowly that Velra almost did not notice them at first. She woke up one morning and realized that she had slept through the entire night without waking. This had not happened in years. Usually, pain or discomfort would wake her 2 or 3 times. A few days later, she noticed that her back did not hurt as much. The constant ache that had been her companion for so long had faded to almost nothing. Then came the energy. Instead of feeling tired all the time, Velra found herself wanting to do things. She took longer walks in the garden. She read more documents. She even began to eat larger meals. Yuan watched these changes with quiet satisfaction. She made notes of everything. She adjusted the hormone levels when needed. She became like a doctor, caring for a single patient with complete attention. As the weeks passed, Velra's body continued to improve. Her skin lost its gray color and returned to a healthy blue. Her eyes became brighter. She stood taller and moved faster. She looked like a different person, but the physical changes were not the most important ones. One afternoon, Velra was walking in the garden when she heard a strange sound. It was soft and melodic, like water flowing over stones. She followed the sound and found Yuna sitting on a bench near the fountain. The human was singing. Velra stopped and listened. She did not understand the words. They were in the human language, which she had never learned. But the melody was beautiful. It made her feel something warm and sad at the same time. When the song ended, Yuna looked up and saw the princess watching her. She quickly stood up and bowed. "I am sorry, Princess. I did not know you were there." "Do not apologize," Velra said. "That was beautiful. What were you singing about?" Yuna's cheeks turned pink. "It is a song from my home. It is about a mother who loses her child in a storm but never stops searching for them. In the end, they are reunited." Velra sat down on the bench next to Yuna. This surprised the human. The princess had always kept a careful distance between them before. "Tell me about your home," Velra said. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she began to speak. She told Velra about Earth, the planet where humans had been born. She described blue oceans and green forests. She talked about cities full of millions of people. She spoke of music and art and stories. She explained how humans had left Earth to explore the stars, spreading across the galaxy in great colony ships. Velra listened to every word. The Theran Empire had always taught that humans were primitive and stupid. But the world Yuna described was rich and complex. Her people had their own culture, their own dreams, their own way of seeing the universe. "We are not as weak as everyone thinks," Yuna said finally. "We are just different. We do not have claws or scales or special powers. But we have survived because we help each other. We work together. We never give up." Velra looked at the small human sitting beside her. In that moment, she saw Yuna clearly for the first time. Not as a gift or a pet or a servant, but as a person who had been taken from her home, separated from everyone she loved, and thrown into a world that saw her as worthless. And yet she had not broken. She had found a way to be useful, to have purpose, to make a difference. "You are not weak," Velra said quietly. "You are perhaps the strongest person I have ever met." Yuna's eyes filled with tears. She tried to look away, but Velra reached out and touched her hand. It was the first time she had touched a human with affection instead of duty. "Thank you for helping me," the princess said. "I do not know how to repay you." Yuna shook her head. "You already have, princess. You treated me like a person when everyone else treated me like an animal. That is worth more than you know." From that day forward, their relationship changed. They were no longer princess and property. They were not quite friends, but there was something close to it. They ate meals together. They walked in the garden together. They talked for hours about their worlds, their lives, their hopes and fears. Velra learned that Yuna had a family on the colony ship. A mother who was a doctor. A father who was an engineer. A younger brother who dreamed of being an explorer. When the ship was attacked by raiders, Yuna had been captured along with 50 other humans. She did not know what had happened to the rest of the ship or her family. "Do you think they are still alive?" Velra asked one night. "I have to believe they are," Yuna said. "If I stop believing that, I do not think I could keep going." Velra understood this feeling well. She had her own hopes that kept her going. Small, secret hopes that she had never shared with anyone. As the months passed, Velra's health continued to improve. And then, one morning, something happened that neither of them expected. Velra woke up feeling strange. There was a warmth in her lower belly that she had never felt before. She called for Yuna, who came quickly. "Something is different," Velra said. "I feel strange." Yuna examined her carefully. She checked the princess's vital signs using a scanner she had built. When she saw the results, her eyes went wide. "Princess," she said slowly, "your reproductive system is showing activity." Velra stared at her. "What does that mean?" "It means that the hormone treatment is doing more than I expected. Your body is starting to function normally. All of it." The princess sat down heavily. Her heart was beating fast. "Are you saying that I might be able to?" "I am saying that it is possible. The damage was never permanent. Your body just needed the right support." Yuna paused. "Of course, this does not mean you have to do anything about it. This is your choice." Velra was silent for a long time. For her entire life, she had been told that she was broken, worthless, incapable of the one thing that her society valued above all else. And now, because of a small human with soft hands and a kind heart, that might no longer be true. She began to laugh. It started as a small sound and grew into something loud and wild. Tears streamed down her face. She laughed until her sides hurt. Yuna watched with concern. "Princess, are you all right?" Velra grabbed her hands and held them tight. "I am better than all right. I am alive. For the first time in my life, I am truly alive." That night, they celebrated. Velra ordered the finest food and drink from the palace kitchens. They sat together in her chambers and talked until the 3 moons rose high in the sky. "What will you do now?" Yuna asked. "Will you tell the court?" Velra's smile faded. "No, not yet. My brother would find a way to use this against me. He would claim credit somehow, or he would try to control who I mate with. I must be careful. Then, what is your plan?" The princess looked at her human friend. There was a new light in her silver eyes, a light that spoke of determination and hope. "First, IW." The following months were the happiest that Velra had ever known. Her body grew stronger every day. The pain that had lived in her bones for so long was now just a memory. She woke each morning with energy and purpose. She felt like a new person. Yuna continued to monitor her health carefully. She adjusted the hormone treatment as needed and kept detailed records of every change. The human was thorough in everything she did. Velra had learned that this was simply how humans worked. They paid attention to small details. They did not give up when things were difficult. They kept trying until they found a solution. These traits had once been seen as weaknesses by the Thuran people. Humans were too small to fight. They were too soft to survive harsh conditions. They thought too much and moved too slowly. But Velra now understood that these were not weaknesses at all. They were different kinds of strength. That one afternoon, a message came from the main palace. Velra's mother, the Empress, was hosting a small gathering for the noble families. Velra was required to attend. The princess read the message with a cold feeling in her stomach. She had not been to the main palace in over a year. She had not seen her mother or brother in all that time. The thought of facing them again made her afraid. Yuna saw the fear in her eyes. "What is wrong?" Velra handed her the message. "I have been summoned. I must go to the main palace tomorrow night." "That is good, is it not? It means they have not forgotten about you. You do not understand." Velra walked to the window. "Every time I go there, they hurt me. Not with their hands, but with their words. They look at me like I am nothing. They make jokes about my condition. They remind me again and again that I am worthless." Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she walked to stand beside the princess. "Do you remember what you told me on my first night here? You said you know what it feels like to be seen as worthless, to be laughed at, to be alone." Velra nodded. "But you are not worthless," Yuna continued. "And you are not alone anymore. You have changed, Velra. You are healthy now. You are strong. They just do not know it yet." The princess turned to look at her friend. "What if they try to hurt you?" "Humans are not allowed in the main palace without special permission. If they see you with me, they might try to take you away." "Then I will stay here," Yuna said. "I do not want to cause you more problems." "No." Velra's voice was firm. "You will come with me. You are the reason I am healthy. You are the reason I have hope. I want them to see you. I want them to know that the worthless gift they gave me has become my greatest treasure." Yuna's eyes grew wet. "Velra." The princess took her hand. "I will protect you. Whatever happens, I promise you that." The next evening, they prepared for the gathering. Velra chose a gown of deep purple, a color that only healthy royals were allowed to wear. It was a small act of rebellion. Before, she would never have dared to wear such a color. But now, she had earned the right. Yuna was given simple but clean clothes. She was still technically a servant, and she would need to look the part. But Velra made sure her friend was comfortable and well-fed before they left. The journey to the main palace took only a few minutes by transport. When they arrived, Velra felt her heart beating fast. The great doors loomed before them, carved with ancient symbols of the Thuran Empire. Behind those doors was everything she feared. She felt a small hand touch hers. Yuna was looking up at her with steady eyes. "You are not alone," the human said softly. "Remember that." Velra took a deep breath and stepped forward. The gathering was held in one of the smaller halls. Perhaps 50 nobles were present, along with their servants and companions. When Velra entered, the room fell quiet. Everyone turned to look at her. She could see the surprise on their faces. The last time they had seen her, she had been pale and thin and tired. Now, she stood tall and strong. Her skin was a healthy blue. Her eyes were bright. She looked like a different person. Whispers spread through the crowd. What had happened to the sterile princess? Kethver was the first to approach. He was smiling, but his eyes were cold. "Sister, what a pleasant surprise. You look different." "Thank you, brother. I have been taking better care of myself." Kethver's eyes moved to Yuna, who stood slightly behind Velra. "I see you still have the pet I gave you. I am surprised she survived this long." "She is not a pet," Velra said calmly. "She is my personal attendant." Some of the nearby nobles laughed. A human as a personal attendant? How ridiculous. What could such a weak creature possibly do? But Kethver did not laugh. He was looking at his sister with a strange expression. He sensed that something had changed, something important. He just did not know what it was yet. The evening continued. Velra moved through the crowd, greeting nobles and accepting their polite but empty words. Yuna stayed close to her, silent and watchful. Some people ignored the human completely. Others stared at her with disgust. A few made cruel comments that Velra pretended not to hear. Then came the moment that changed everything. Young noble named Drakevin had been drinking too much wine. He was known for his cruelty to servants and his dislike of lesser species. When he saw Yuna, his eyes lit up with mean pleasure. "Look at this," he said loudly, pointing at the human. "The worthless princess brought a worthless pet. How fitting." Some people laughed. Velra felt her blood grow hot, but she kept her face calm. Drakevin was not satisfied. He wanted a bigger reaction. He walked toward Yuna with a cruel smile. "Let me see this creature up close," he said. "I have never touched a human before. I hear their skin is as soft as baby flesh." He reached out to grab Yuna's arm. Before he could touch her, Velra's hand shot out and caught his wrist. The hall went silent. "You will not touch her," Velra said. Her voice was quiet but hard as steel. Drakevin stared at her with shock. "Release me, princess. This is none of your concern. She belongs to me. That makes it my concern." Velra tightened her grip. Drakevin winced in pain. "If you try to touch her again, I will break every bone in your hand." The young noble's face turned dark with anger. "You dare threaten me? You, the Baron Princess? You are nothing. You are less than this human pet." Velra smiled. It was a cold smile, without any warmth. "Perhaps I am, but I am the daughter of the Empress. And if you raise a hand against my property, the law allows me to defend it with any force necessary." She released his wrist. Drakevin stumbled backward, rubbing the spot where her fingers had left marks. "This is not over," he hissed. Then he turned and walked away. The crowd watched in stunned silence. Then, slowly, the conversation started again. But now people were looking at Velra differently. There was a new respect in their eyes, and perhaps a little fear. Kethver had watched the entire scene. His smile had disappeared. He knew now that something fundamental had changed in his sister. The weak, broken princess was gone. In her place was something else. Something dangerous. He did not like it at all. When they returned to Volra's wing that night, Yuna was shaking. She sat down heavily on a chair and wrapped her arms around herself. "You should not have done that," she said. "You have made an enemy." "I have many enemies," Velra replied. "One more does not matter. But he could hurt you. He could tell people that you threatened him. He could." Yuna. Velra knelt in front of her friend and took her hands. "Listen to me. You saved my life. You gave me hope when I had none. You treated me with kindness when everyone else treated me with contempt. I would stand against the entire empire to protect you." Tears rolled down Yuna's cheeks. "Why? I am just a human. I am nothing. You are everything." Volra's voice was thick with emotion. "You taught me that worth is not measured by children or power or status. Worth is measured by the kindness in your heart, by the help you give to others, by the love you share without expecting anything in return." She reached up and wiped the tears from Yuna's face. "In the eyes of the Theran Empire, you are worth nothing. But in my eyes, you are worth more than all the stars in the sky." Yuna broke down completely. She fell forward into Velra's arms and cried. All the fear and loneliness and pain of the past months came pouring out. And Velra held her, the way she had seen human mothers hold their children in the videos Yuna had shown her. When the tears finally stopped, Yuna pulled back and looked at the princess. "In my culture," she said quietly, When two people save each other's lives and swear to protect each other, they become bonded. Like family, but closer. We call it a soul bond. Velra considered this. I like that. A bond of souls. It seems fitting. Do you want to do it? The ritual is simple. The princess nodded. Show me. Yuna took Velra's hands in hers. Look into my eyes and speak these words after me. I bind my soul to yours. I bind my soul to yours. Velra repeated. In darkness and in light. In darkness and in light. In weakness and in strength. In weakness and in strength. Until the stars grow cold and the universe falls silent. Until the stars grow cold and the universe falls silent. Yuna smiled through her tears. Now we are bonded. Whatever happens, we face it together. Velra felt something click in the place in her heart. A connection that went beyond words or touch. She knew, with complete certainty, that she would never be alone again. Together, she agreed. They sat in silence for a long time, holding hands and watching the moons rise outside the window. In the main palace, Kefir was already making plans. He had seen the change in his sister, and he was afraid of what it might mean, but his plans would fail. Because a year had passed since that night in the smaller hall. 1 year since Velra had protected Yuna from Drakevin. 1 year since they had bound their souls together in the human tradition. In that year, everything had changed. Velra was now stronger than she had ever been. Her body had fully healed. The hormone treatment had done its work perfectly. She no longer needed the patches that Yuna had made for her. Her system had learned to produce what it needed on its own, and she was pregnant. The child had been conceived 3 months ago, through an arrangement with a noble family that had no love for Kefir. The father was a kind and quiet male who wanted nothing from Velra except to help her prove the Empire wrong. He had agreed to stay silent about his role until the child was born. Now it was time to return to the court. Not as the broken princess they remembered, but as a mother-to-be. As a woman who had achieved the impossible, Velra stood before the mirror in her chambers, looking at herself. Her belly was just beginning to show a slight curve. In a few more weeks, it would be impossible to hide. But she did not want to hide it. She wanted everyone to see why Yuna helped her dress in a gown of royal blue. It was the color of the imperial family. The color that announced to everyone that she was still a princess. Still worthy. Still alive. Are you ready? Yuna asked. Velra took a deep breath. I have been ready for a long time. The imperial court was gathered for the Feast of Stars, one of the most important celebrations in the Theran calendar. Every noble family was required to attend. The Empress herself would be present, along with both of her children. When Velra entered the great hall, she walked with her head held high. The crowd parted before her, whispers spreading like fire. People stared at her with wide eyes. They saw the healthy glow of her skin. They saw the strength in her body. And they saw the gentle curve of her belly. Shock rippled through the hall. The sterile princess was pregnant. It was impossible. The doctors had declared it impossible years ago. Yet here she was. The Empress rose from her throne. She was an ancient figure, her skin the deep blue of the ocean. Her eyes, once sharp, had grown cloudy with age. But she could still see well enough to recognize her daughter. Velra, she said, her voice carrying across the silent hall. Come forward. Velra walked up the long aisle toward the throne. She could feel every eye on her. She could hear the whispers. She did not care. Let them whisper. Let them stare. She had earned this moment. She stopped before the throne and bowed. Mother. The Empress studied her for a long moment. The reports I received said you were sick, weak, dying perhaps. The reports were wrong, Mother. As you can see, I am quite well. And you are with child? Yes, mother. I am. The hall exploded with noise. Everyone was talking at once. How was this possible? Who was the father? What had happened to the sterile princess? Kethver pushed through the crowd, his face dark with anger. He had expected to inherit everything when their mother died. He had expected Velra to fade away, forgotten and broken. But now she stood before them, carrying an heir of her own. This is a trick, he shouted. She is lying. She cannot carry a child. The doctors confirmed it years ago. Velra turned to face her brother. Her smile was calm and cold. The doctors were wrong. Or perhaps they simply did not care enough to find the right treatment. What treatment? There is no treatment for your condition. There is, actually. A very simple one. It involves supplementing the hormones that my body could not produce on its own. Velra gestured to Yuna, who stood quietly at the edge of the crowd. My human attendant developed it for me, using human medical knowledge. The crowd turned to look at the small human. Yuna stood straight and still, her face showing no fear. She had grown much stronger in the past year. Living with Velra had taught her that she could face anything. Kethver laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. You expect us to believe that a human cured you? A creature so weak and stupid that they cannot even survive a simple winter storm. I do not care what you believe, brother. Velra's voice was like ice. The truth speaks for itself. I am healthy. I am pregnant. And I will give birth to an heir who will carry the blood of our mother. The Empress raised her hand. The hall fell silent. Daughter, she said slowly, if what you say is true, then you have achieved something remarkable. But I must ask you a difficult question. Who is the father? Velra had expected this. The father is from House Rethkar. He has asked to remain anonymous for now, for the safety of the child. I have agreed to his request. House Rethkar was one of the oldest noble families. They had no love for Kethver, who had killed one of their sons in a duel many years ago. Their support of Velra was both unexpected and very significant. The Empress nodded slowly. I see. And you are certain that the child is healthy? Yes, mother. My attendant has been monitoring the pregnancy carefully. Everything is progressing normally. The old Empress was quiet for a long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, she smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible. But it was there. Then, I congratulate you, daughter. You have proven yourself worthy of the name you carry. Kethver stepped forward. Mother, you cannot accept this. She has been hiding in her wing for years. She has done nothing for the Empire. And now she appears with a human slave and a belly full of lies? This is an insult to our family. The Empress turned her cloudy eyes to her son. Velra has done what you told us was impossible. She has overcome her condition. She has found help where others saw none. And she will give us an heir. Her voice hardened. What have you done lately, my son? That is so impressive. Kethver's face went white with anger. I have served the Empire faithfully. I have led our armies to victory. You have bullied the weak and mocked the helpless. The Empress stood from her throne, her old bones creaking. You gave your sister a human slave as an insult. You hoped to break her spirit completely. But instead, that human saved her life. It seems the universe has a sense of humor. The crowd was completely silent. No one had ever seen the Empress speak to her son this way. Velra felt a warmth spread through her chest. For the first time in her life, her mother was defending her. It was almost too much to believe. Kethver was not finished. This is wrong, he said. Humans are nothing. They are pests. They are. They are more than you think. Velra's voice cut through his words. Yuna taught me that strength comes in many forms. Not just muscles and weapons. but kindness, compassion, the desire to help others without expecting anything in return. She turned to face the crowd. The Theran Empire has always believed that humans are worthless. We have enslaved them, mocked them, killed them without thought. But we were wrong. Humans have knowledge and skills that we do not possess. They have hearts that are larger than their bodies. They have courage that puts our greatest warriors to shame. She pointed at Yuna. This human, who my brother gave me as a joke, saved my life. She worked for months to find a cure for my condition. She asked for nothing in return. She did it because she wanted to help. Because that is who humans are. The crowd stared at the small human with new eyes. They saw a creature they had dismissed as worthless, and they began to wonder if they had been wrong. The Empress walked slowly down from her throne. She moved toward Yuna, who tried to bow but was stopped by a gentle hand. "Do not bow to me, little one." The Empress's voice was soft. "You have earned the right to stand tall." Yuna looked up at the ancient ruler. "I only did what any nurse would do, Your Majesty. I saw someone who was suffering, and I tried to help. And in doing so, you changed the course of our empire." The Empress turned to face the crowd. "Let it be known that from this day forward, humans are no longer to be treated as lesser beings. They are to be given the respect that any thinking creature deserves. Anyone who harms a human without cause will answer to me." Kethver's face twisted with rage. "Mother, you cannot. I am the Empress." Her voice was thunder. "I can do whatever I wish. And I wish to honor the creature who saved my daughter." She turned back to Yuna. "Tell me, human, what do you want? Name anything, and if it is within my power, I will give it to you." Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. "Your Majesty, I want to find my family. When my colony ship was attacked, I was separated from them. I do not know if they are alive or dead. If you could help me find them, I would be grateful beyond words." The Empress nodded. "It will be done. I will send my finest scouts to search for your colony ship. If your family lives, we will find them." Tears rolled down Yuna's face. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you." Velra stepped forward and put her arm around her friend. The two of them stood together before the throne, princess and human, bonded by something stronger than blood. Kethver watched them with hatred in his eyes. He had lost this battle. His sister had proven herself worthy. The human had been praised by their mother. Everything he had worked for was falling apart, but he was not finished yet. He would find a way to destroy them. Both of them. He would not rest until the sterile princess and her worthless pet were nothing but memories. As the celebration continued around them, Velra felt a chill run down her spine. She knew her brother well enough to recognize the look in his eyes. This was not over, but she was not. The night after the Feast of Stars was cold and dark. The three moons had hidden behind thick clouds, and a strange silence had fallen over the palace. Velra could not sleep. Something felt wrong. A warning whispered in her bones that she was right to be worried. At midnight, the door to her chambers burst open. Kethver stood there with 6 of his personal guards. His eyes were wild with anger and desperation. "Brother," Velra said calmly, though her heart was pounding. "This is unexpected. I have come for the human." Kethver's voice was cold. "She is property. Imperial property. And I am taking her back. She belongs to me. You gave her to me as a gift. You cannot take back a gift." Kethver smiled cruelly. "I gave her to you as an insult. A joke. I never expected you to actually keep her. But now she has become a problem. Mother is using her to undermine my position. I will not allow it." He stepped forward. "Give me the human sister, or I will take her by force." Yuna appeared in the doorway of her room. She had heard everything. Her face was pale, but her eyes were steady. Princess, she said quietly, let him take me. I do not want you to be hurt because of me. No. Velra moved to stand in front of her friend. I made a promise. We are bonded. I will not let him touch you. Kethver laughed. Bonded? You speak of human rituals as if they mean something. You are pathetic, sister. You have grown attached to a pet. It is disgusting. He signaled to his guards. Take the human. Kill anyone who gets in the way. The guards moved forward. Velra pushed Yuna behind her and faced them. She had no weapons. She had no training in combat. But she would not move. If you touch her, she said, you will have to kill me first. And then you will have to explain to Mother why you murdered your pregnant sister in her own chambers. The guards hesitated. They looked at Kethver, uncertain. Do it, the prince commanded. I will deal with Mother. Still the guards hesitated. Killing a servant was one thing. Killing a princess, especially one who was carrying an heir, was something else entirely. In that moment of pause, everything changed. A new figure appeared in the doorway. It was the Empress herself, followed by her personal guard of 20 soldiers. Her ancient face was twisted with fury. Kethver, she said, her voice like the crack of thunder. What have you done? The prince spun around. For the first time, fear showed in his eyes. Mother, I can explain. You broke into your sister's chambers with armed guards. You threatened to kill her. You tried to steal her property. The Empress walked forward slowly, each step heavy with power. There is nothing to explain. You have shown your true nature at last. The human is a threat, Kethver said desperately. She has bewitched Velra. She has turned you against me. She must be destroyed. The only threat in this room is you. The Empress raised her hand. Her guards surrounded Kethver and his soldiers, weapons drawn. The prince looked around wildly. He was trapped. His guards, seeing that they were badly outnumbered, dropped their weapons and stepped back. Mother, please. Kethver's voice cracked. All his arrogance was gone. I am your son. Your heir. You cannot do this to me. You were my heir, the Empress said coldly. But an heir who would kill his pregnant sister is no heir at all. You are stripped of your titles. You are removed from the line of succession. You will be imprisoned until I decide what to do with you. Kethver fell to his knees. No, this cannot happen. I have served you faithfully for years. I have given you grandchildren. You have bullied the weak. You have mocked the helpless. You have proven that you care nothing for our people and everything for your own power. The Empress turned her back on him. Take him away. I do not wish to see his face again. The Imperial guards dragged Kethver from the room. His screams echoed through the halls as they carried him toward the prison beneath the palace. When he was gone, the Empress turned to Velra. Her ancient eyes were soft with something that might have been love. My daughter, I am sorry. I should have protected you better. I should have seen what your brother truly was. Velra bowed her head. It is not your fault, Mother. Kethver hid his nature well. No, I knew what he was. I simply chose not to see it. The Empress sighed heavily. I was a fool, but perhaps it is not too late to make things right. She turned to look at Yuna. The small human was still standing behind Velra, her face pale and her hands shaking. Come here. Little one. Yuna stepped forward hesitantly. She stood before the Empress, looking very small and very scared. The Empress reached out and lifted Yuna's chin gently. You have courage, human. You stood beside my daughter, even when death was at your door. You did not run. You did not betray her. You are more loyal than most of my own nobles. I love her, Your Majesty, Yuna said simply. She is my sister in all but blood. I would die for her. The Empress nodded slowly. I believe you. and I believe that you are wasted as a simple attendant." She turned to address the room. "From this day forward, the human Yuna is no longer property. She is a free citizen of the Theran Empire. She's given all the rights and protections of any citizen. And she is named as personal advisor to Princess Valra, with all the authority that title carries." Yuna stared at her in disbelief. "Your Majesty, I do not know what to say." "Saying nothing. You have earned this with your actions." The Empress looked at Velra. "And you, my daughter, you have shown wisdom that I never expected. You saw value where others saw none. You found strength in an unexpected place. You will make a good ruler someday." Velra felt tears forming in her eyes. "Ruler, mother? Kethver is gone. His children are too young and too corrupted by his influence. You are now my only heir." The Empress placed her hand on Volra's belly, feeling the gentle curve where new life was growing. "And this child will inherit an empire that is better than the one I built. Because of you, because of your human friend." She pulled both of them into an embrace. It was awkward and strange. Therans did not usually embrace this way, but it felt right. When the Empress finally left, Velra and Yuna stood alone in the chamber. The three moons had come out from behind the clouds. Their silver light poured through the window, bathing everything in a gentle glow. "I cannot believe what just happened," Yuna whispered. "I am free. I am a citizen. You are my sister," Velra said. She took Yuna's hands in hers. "You have always been my sister. Now the whole empire knows it." Yuna began to cry. They were happy tears this time. Tears of relief and joy and overwhelming emotion. Velra held her close. "Remember what you told me long ago? You said that humans survive because you help each other, because you work together, because you never give up." Yuna nodded against her shoulder. "I think that is true of all people," Velra continued. "When we help each other, we are stronger. When we work together, we can do impossible things. When we refuse to give up, nothing can stop us." She pulled back and looked at her friend. "You taught me that, Yuna. You taught me that worth is not measured by what your body can do. It is measured by what your heart can hold." Yuna wiped her eyes. "You taught me something too. You taught me that kindness can come from unexpected places. That even in the darkest empire, there can be light." They stood together by the window, watching the three moons rise higher in the sky. The palace was quiet now. Kethver was gone. The Empress had spoken. Everything was different. 3 months later, Velra gave birth to a healthy daughter. She named her Yunra, combining her own name with that of the human who had saved her. The child had her mother's blue skin and silver eyes, but something about her smile reminded everyone of the small human who stood always at the princess's side. The scouts that the Empress had sent out returned with good news. Yuna's colony ship had survived the attack. Her family was alive. They were brought to the Theran homeworld as honored guests, not prisoners. When Yuna saw her mother and father again, she collapsed into their arms. She cried for hours. So did they. Velra watched from a distance, her heart full of joy for her friend. Yuna's brother, the one who had dreamed of being an explorer, was given a ship of his own. He became the first human to lead a Theran exploration mission. He discovered 3 new planets and became a hero to both species. And as for Velra herself, she became the greatest empress the Theran people had ever known. She ruled with wisdom and kindness. She ended the practice of human slavery throughout the empire. She built schools and hospitals. She taught her daughter that all beings have worth, no matter how small or strange they might seem. At her side always was Yuna, the human who had been given as an insult, the creature everyone had laughed at, the small, soft, fragile being who had changed everything. They had laughed at the human given to the sterile princess. But in the end, The human and the princess laughed last, and their laughter echoed through the stars. A reminder to all that true power comes not from strength or wealth or status. True power comes from love, from compassion, from the bonds we form with those who see us for who we really are. That is the gift that humanity gave to the Theran Empire. And the empire was forever changed because of it.